What's up, YouTube? My name is Bigboysnacksjonnytv. Welcome out to my YouTube channel. And tonight I will be going over my AEW Dynasty review and highlights. As you can tell by the title of the video and the thumbnail, the Young Bucks returns and attacks Swerve Strickland at AEW Dynasty. Alright, make sure you guys full watch the video and hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel for more wrestling content on a channel like this. Because I'm on the road to 9K and a path to YouTube partner. Follow my social media down below in the description. Now let's get started. Now, AEW Dynasty was a good show, and we got two back-to-back terrible endings. First, it was AEW Revolution with their terrible ending, and now AEW Dynasty. Because of the Young Bucks showed up at AEW Dynasty and attacked Swerve Strickland. But Swerve Strickland had that match won until the Young Bucks came out of nowhere and attacked Swerve Strickland. Alright. AEW Dynasty was live from La Cura Center on the campus of Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 0 hour free, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is that show starts 0 hour starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Trios match: the CRU and Action Adrenaline and Leo Rush and Nick Wayne defeats Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin and AR Fox. Max Caster Best Wrestler Alive Open Challenge. Anthony Bounce defeats Max Caster, which is I did not really care about that match, but I'm glad that Anthony Bounce won against Max Caster, cause Max Caster is annoying. All right, with this Best Wrestler Alive. All right, with all the assignment of 0 hour behind us, it's time for a dynasty to commence with the main card of AEW Dynasty. Commentary welcomes us to the show as Will Ospreay's music hits, signaling the arrival of the aerial assassin for our opening contest, a first round match in the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament. Big pop for Will Ospreay as he enters the ring. And now next is Kevin Knight, who has a tall task ahead of him, replacing Jay White in the tournament as he enters to a decent reaction from the crowd on his way to the ring to get this match underway. Alright, so we get the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match. Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight. This match was fantastic. This was really good. Really good match. Alright, the crowd chants for Will Ospreay before the two men lock up, with Will Ospreay reversing an arm wringer only for Kevin Knight to turn it back around. Taking Will Ospreay to the mat, they hit the ropes for an exchange that ends with Kevin Knight taking Will Ospreay to the corner before following with a sliding low elbow. Both men back to their feet as Kevin Knight takes the ropes again, only to be sent to the outside by Will Ospreay, with who connects with a dive. He brings Kevin Knight back in the ring for a cover, but only gets a 2 count. Bringing Kevin Knight to his feet, Will Ospreay connects with a chop in the corner before locking in an ambitional stretch, only for Kevin Knight to escape with a hip toss. Will Ospreay is quick to get back up, however, taking the fight to Kevin Knight for another close near fall off a corkscrew kick. Kevin Knight gets back to his feet, laying into Will Ospreay before hitting the ropes, only for Will Ospreay to counter with a Spanish fly, forcing both men to the mat. The referee begins a standing 10 count before both men are fairly quick to get back up, with Will Ospreay grabbing Kevin Knight by the wrist as he lays in some chops. But Kevin Knight responds in kind with some chops of his own. The action continues until Kevin Knight sends Will Ospreay to the outside, but the aerial assassin tries to evade a dive until Kevin Knight charges positioning and catches him on the floor instead. The two men end up on the apron until Will Ospreay slips out, looking for a styles clash until Kevin Knight counters for a DDT, sending Will Ospreay onto the ramp. The referee begins a new count as Kevin Knight races to his feet, laying into Will Ospreay before sending him back into the ring for another DDT and the cover, but Will Ospreay kicks out at 2. Both men are up again, and Will Ospreay counters into a Styles Clash attempt, only to once again be countered by Kevin Knight, who hits a hurricanrana on the aerial assassin covered by Kevin Knight, and another 2 count before Will Ospreay kicks out. Will Ospreay gets up going up high and crashing into an anti-air by Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight goes up top for a rotation fall splash on Will Ospreay. The impact hurting him enough for a pause before he makes the cover, and that costs him the win as Will Ospreay managed to kick out once more. Both men slowly get to their feet before Will Ospreay hits the ropes, only for Kevin Knight to counter into a backslide for a 2 count. Will Ospreay breaks free for a Styles Clash, covered by Will Ospreay this time. It's Kevin Knight who kicks out at 2. Oscar connects, but that only gets him a near fall, leading to a much needed hidden blade that gets Will Ospreay the win. The winner by pinfall and advancing to the men's Owen Hart Cup, Will Ospreay. This match was fantastic to kick off the show. Alright. After a quick celebration, we get a show of sportsmanship as Kevin Knight and Will Ospreay shake hands. Kevin Knight takes his leave from the ring before Will Ospreay continues to celebrate, taking it up the ramp in the process. It says, "Hell of a match to kick off AEW Dynasty." Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight with a great showcase of their talent. Big moment for Kevin Knight even in loss, as Will Ospreay advanced in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Video package. Chris Jericho has told his learning tree student to prove themselves, and Big Bill and Brian Keith look to do just that, as they have earned the right to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championship by forcing a very game Hurt Syndicate. Back at ringside, Big Bill and Brian Keith way out of make their way out for our next match. These students look to make their teacher proud as they enter the ring. Out next are the tag champs. The Hurt Syndicate comes out, the crowd chanting, "We hurt people," as they head to the ring. MVP joins commentary as this match gets underway. So we get the second match, AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin defense against Big Bill and Brian Keith. And this tag team match right here, this was a fun tag team match. But we already knew that the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin was going to retain. I already been knew that, and I called it straight down the middle. We start off with Bobby Lashley and Brian Keith, the latter heading to the corner and get a breather and force Bobby Lashley to back off and just as quickly tag in Big Bill. Bobby Lashley circles the mat before locking up with Big Bill, laying into him before hitting the ropes. But Big Bill cuts him off, sending Bobby Lashley to the outside. This this forces MVP to leave the desk and regroup with his pals as the referee begins a count. We heard people chant continues as MVP heads back to the desk and Bobby Lashley enters the ring again, tagging in Shelton Benjamin to keep the Redwood down to sides before he tags back in for some shoulder charge in the corner. Shelton Benjamin tags back in for a standing switch on Big Bill, who backs up into his corner for a tag to Brian Keith to keep him down, covered by Brian Keith for a 2 count. But Shelton Benjamin fights back to force Brian Keith to the outside for more damage. We heard people chant, "Ring out again," as Shelton Benjamin enters the ring to break the count, leaving to deal more hurt on the Big Apple before bringing him back in the ring for a tag to Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley lifts Brian Keith up for a delayed vertical suplex that gets a near fall, continuing to dish out pain for another near fall after. They tag made to Shelton Benjamin as Brian Keith struggles for one of his own, but counters out for a single leg by Shelton Benjamin to make the tag to Big Bill. Big Bill gets Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin set up in the opposite corner for a running splash, but a moment of pause forced him to go for a ride when Shelton Benjamin hits a German suplex on the redwood. Big Bill managed to fight back for a near fall, before going for a chokeslam on Shelton Benjamin, who counters with an arm drag. Chaos ensures ensues when Brian Keefe tries to run in, only to be laid out by Bobby Lashley running him. Bobby Lashley holds the redwood on his shoulders, but is sent into the corner for Snake Eyes by Big Bill. Instead, as MVP gets up to argue with the referee about what's going on. Big Bill catches Bobby Lashley with a boot to the outside, but is turned around for a big right hand by MJF, who hits Dynamite Ring to knock out the Redwood. He he cheers on Bobby Lashley as Shelton Benjamin forces Brian Keith back in the ring. German suplex by Shelton Benjamin is followed by a spear. Bobby Lashley before Shelton Benjamin puts a boot on Brian Keith for the win. The winner of the match and still your AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. This was a fun tag team match. The Hurt Syndicate celebrates through they still appear less than pleased about MJF involvement in the finish of this match as MVP regroups with them on the ramp. Fun tag title match here. I feel like Big Bill and Brian Keefe really got to come into their own with this, showing interesting development in the finish with MJF likely trying to prove his worth to the Hurt Syndicate as Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin retains. Hashtag AEW Dynasty. Video package: Mercedes Moné into this year's Women's Own Hard Cup tournament and has quite the hurdle in the opening round as she faces a former TBS champion and Julia Hart tonight at AEW Dynasty. Our first for this round match is Julia Hart to a decent reaction as the former champion head to the ring before they regaining TBS champion. Out comes next to a pop from the crowd. Mercedes Moné head to the ring, and this match gets underway. So we get the next match. So we get the third match. Women's on Hard Cup tournament first round. The CEO Mercedes Moné versus Julia Hart. And this match right here, I ain't even gonna lie. This this was this was a pretty good match right here. Yeah, this was a pretty good match right here. Julia Hart stares down her opponent from the corner before the two women circle the mat and lock up, with Julia quickly giving an answer to the champ's offense early on. She takes Mercedes Moné to the corner, but Mercedes Moné catches her with a drop toe hold to turn things around. Backstage, we get a look at Harley Cameron and Minnie Monet watching on as the champ sets Julia Hart for what appears to be a tombstone power driver, only for Julia to reverse for a near fall. Mercedes Monet follows one with her own before both women get back to their feet. Mercedes Monet tried to use the ropes but slipped much to the carnage of the coward of the car charging of the crowd as she sends Julia to the corner instead. Julia Hart used the distraction to get an opening, showing how a rope walk actually works as she goes old school on the ramp before mounting up on Mercedes Monet to slam her head against the mat. The action spills to the outside as Mercedes Monet to catch Julia Hart with a meteor off the apron, sending her to the floor. She brings Julia Hart back she brings Julia Hart back to the ring, hitting the ropes for a kick and a reverse in a near fall. She reacts to the dueling chant from the crowd before clinching in a chin lock, but Julia Hart managed to roll through for a near fall to break the hold. Mercedes Moné goes after her for a near fall of her own, looking frustrated as she brings Julia Hart to her feet for a vertical suplex. This is the first of the Amigos, and when in a second one follows, only for Julia Hart to break free from the third. Julia Hart goes after the champ, but gets a pair of knee knees in her chest for her efforts, allowing Mercedes Moné to get another near fall before Julia Hart kicks out. The frustration is mounting on Mercedes Moné as she sets Julia up in a trio roll on the turnbuckle, but Julia Hart fights back, pulling Mercedes Moné off the turnbuckles before evading a shoulder charge from the champ. Julia Hart gets out of the trio roll to get the drop on Mercedes Moné on the outside, bringing her back in for a spinning DDT and the cover, but Mercedes Moné managed to kick out. Mercedes Moné enters another DDT attempt for a long blower, but the impact affects both women as they um as they struggle to their feet. Mercedes Moné Moneymaker is set up, but Julia breaks out, countering with a jackknife counter before Mercedes Moné gets up and sends Julia Hart to the corner, only for Julia to catch the champ in the ropes for the Tara 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 Tarantula. Tarantula. I'm sorry. The referee makes a count to break the technical legal hold, but this allows Julia Hart to lock in an octopus hold until Mercedes Moné sends her into the turnbuckle to force a break. Mercedes Moné gets a near fall for her troubles, but Julia Hart takes her back down to the mat before going up top for a moonsault press. It takes a pair of boots to the face by Mercedes Moné and say double dose of a backstabber by the CEO who takes control. Both women are on their feet as Julia Hart fights out of the grip of Mercedes Moné, eventually hitting a curve kick on the champ for a near fall before Mercedes Moné her with a statement maker. Julia Hart struggles but manages to break free of the hold and locks in Heartless on the CEO. Mercedes Moné looks like she might tap, but instead rolls through for a near fall to break the hold. Statement maker gets locked in on Julia Hart once more, as this time it's Julia who rolls through for a near fall. This doesn't break the hold, however, as Mercedes Moné changes the hold even tighter before switching sides for leverage. Julia Hart um, chance tried to will the former champ back into the match. It seems to work when Hart with Julia Hart rolls through for another near fall, only for Mercedes Moné to roll through for a clutch that keeps Julia down for the win. The winner of the match by pinfall and advancing to the women's World on Hard Cup, Mercedes Moné. This was a pretty good match right here. Like that Julia Hart slash Mercedes Moné match a lot tonight. Big showing from both women. When Mercedes Moné continues the streak of good in the ring performance as she advances in the women's on heart cup tournament AEW Dynasty. So we get a video package. This dissension among Reddit FTR leads to series of doubts being raised as they challenge the Death Riders of Pac, Claudio Castagnoli, and Ray Liotta for the world Trios Tag Team Champions. Okay, back at ringside, FTR makes their way to the stage, followed by the Rated R Superstar Code before the trio heads to the ring for our next match. This leads to a sing along by the crowd for Colt. Some theme before the Dark Riders arrives. Throughout the crowd, making their way towards the ring to get this trio's title match on the way. All right, so we get the fourth match, AEW World Trios Championship match. Death Rider Spot, Claudio Cascanoli, and Rilla Yuta defense against FTR, Colt, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler. And this tag team match right here, um, this was um, this was a really good trios match. We start the match off with Pac and Dax as the crowd lets Wheeler Yuta know how they feel. Pac sends to the corner as the referee intervenes for a rope break, which gives Pac an opening to go after Dax Harwood for a near fall. Dax Harwood goes for a pin of his own, but Pac counters for another near fall in the process. Pac goes after Dax until the latter retreats to the corner for a world for a word of wisdom from Cope, followed by the tag. Cope goes after Pac until the Rated R superstar is forced to the Death Rod's corner for a tag to Wheeler Yuta, who deals with the Philly crowd chant as he goes after Cope, who breaks free for a tag to clash Wheeler. Wheeler Yuta takes Wheeler Yuta down to the mat before bringing him back to the corner. For another tag back to Colt. Wheeler Yuta Wheeler Yuta escaped for a tag. Cascanoli. Um, who is confronted by all three of Rated FTR, setting up for a cash power bomb off the turnbuckle. Cash looks for the cover by Pac and Wheeler Yuta are sent away from the ring but Claudio Castagnoli managed to uh, kick out all the same. Wheeler Yuta sends Claudio Castagnoli out of the ring, but is blocked from climbing the turnbuckle, showing an opening for Pac to make the tag. Pac lays in some heavy damage on Cash before tagging Claudio, who continues to attack before tagging Wheeler Yuta and as the latter begins casting on the mat for a chinlock. Wheeler Yuta fights to his feet, taking Wheeler Yuta with a power slam as Pac tries to knock Cope off the apron to no ball. Tag made to Claudio Cascanoli as Cash looks to tag Cope, but Dax Harwood takes it instead. Cope looks confused as Harwood rushes in and laying in some hard offense on Claudio Cascanoli. Pac and really to go for a measure short arm lariat by Harwood, but Claudio Cascanoli remains standing, leading to a big uppercut and a backslide. That gets him that gets him a near fall. Cope rushes in to cut off Wheeler Yuta with a grindhouse, and as Claudio Castagnoli and Harwood lock in, dueling super sharpshooter on Cash Wheeler and Pac respectively slap between Dax Harwood and before the Death Riders takes control. The second Colt they sent Cope and Cash Wheeler out before Claudio tags Wheeler Yuta, taking Dax for a grand swing into a drop kick by Wheeler Yuta for the cover, but Dax Harwood kicks out. Crowd still giving out the Yuta as he tags in Claudio Castagnoli, sending Dax Harwood to the corner as Pac tags in for a triple team fury on Harwood. Tombstone power driver by Pac, followed by a couple of fastball special for a cover, but Cash breaks the pin. Cope gets a tag and runs while on the Death Riders, leading to an Impalio on Pac for a close near fall. He sets Pac up on the turnbuckle as a Cash tags in, as does Dax Harwood, leading to a superplex followed by a power and glory special on Pac. Claudio Castagnoli stops the Therefore, as Wheeler Yuta forced him out of the mat to the chorus of boos, Pac rolls up Hardwood for a near fall, transitioning to a brutalizer, and the riders haul off. Wheeler Yuta and Colt Dax is fading fast as Cash finally managed to pull Wheeler Yuta on Pac and Dax Hardwood to break the hold. Um, Cope and Claudio Castagnoli take the fight out of the ring as Wheeler Yuta gets the tag for the bazooka knee, but he gets cut off by a shadow machine by LTR, followed by a spear from Cope, covered by Dax, and Claudio Castagnoli breaks the pin. Cope goes after him, bringing him to the outside to send him into the barricade. He gets back in the ring looking for a spear, but Wheeler Yuta dodges and Cope stops him from hitting Harwood with it. This gives Yuta an opening as he sends Cope into Dax before hitting the bazooka knee on Dax Harwood for the pin and the win. The winner of the match by pinfall and still your AEW World Trios champions, the Death Rollins. This is a really good match. The champ celebrates as they lead through the crowd, and we are left with Red and FTR to regroup instead into the ring. Cope gets to his feet, offering a hand to Harwood. That is followed by Cash offering the same as they help Dash to his feet. Three men stand tall for a moment before Dash catches Cope with a pile driver onto the man. Cash is shocked by this as Dash leaves the ring, grabbing a pair of chairs from ringside. He sets Cope's head up on one chair, heading to another to Wheeler Yuta, who throws it aside and shoves Harwood. Cash brings Cope to his feet, pulling up him for a shadow machine with the Harwood. This leads to Dax setting Cope up for a spike pile driver with the assist by Wheeler Yuta, who is handed a chair after the connect with the Conchero. Two on the Rated R Superstar. The crowd is lit as they boo FTR, who have not had enough. Even a Doug Samson rushes in to stop the chaos. Cash Cash hits another Conchero to the coat to Uncle, even mocking him as Cash put on the necklace brace and Frings begin being put on the stretcher, and he and Dash finally leave up the ramp as the crowd continues booing, with medical staff sent 10 to ready our superstar Colt. Alright, really good trios title match here between Dev Rise and Rated R FTR, but the real focus is on the post match attack. Somehow this coming, but the actual moment still come off looking as a hell of a turn from both Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler and Cash. I can't imagine what FTR conversa- conversation is gonna be hashtag AEW Dynasty. So we go to video package. Tony Storm moves on from her feud with Mariah May, only to fire herself up against a quickly rising star Megan Bayne with the AEW Women's World Champion on the line tonight as AEW Dynasty. I don't know why I said Dynamite, but I did crack myself by saying AEW Dynasty. So AEW Dynasty, and I'm glad I did crack myself on that one. First is Megan Bayne as we head back to ringside. Penelope Ford is accompanied by the Maggis on her way to the ring. The future presentation video and shows the transition of Tony Storm ahead of this match as the AEW Women's World Champion make her way out with a Rocky style roll to Big Pop from the Philly crowd. The champ enters the ring, and this big fight feel of a match underway. So we get the next match. AEW Women's World Champion match. Timeless Tony Storm defense against Megan Bayne. This match was good too. Chance from the chant for the champ as the two women lock up, only for Tony Storm to be shoved away by the challenger Megan Bayne. Tony start to, Tony Storm starts to get an overhand as she hits the ropes, but Megan Bayne catches her off a crossbody attempt. Tony Storm breaks free and heads to the corner, finally connecting with a crossbody, but gets back to her feet just as quickly. Ends Tony Storm lands some kicks before Magus fights back, laying in some hard offense on the champ in the process. She brings Tony Storm into the corner, catching her for a follow away slam. Tony um, Tony Storm heads to the open. I'm sorry, Tony heads to the ropes before Megan Bayne sends her to the outside with a big boot, allowing the champ to get a breather. But before Megan Bayne takes a big dive, but Tony Storm is able to bounce back, bringing the challenger up the turnbuckle and dropping her for a near fall. Penelope Ford tries to get involved as the referee is distracted. This allows Megan Bayne a chance to connect with a boot, sending the champ back to the mat. She brings Tony Storm back to this corner for a shoulder charge before the referee intervenes and sends Tony Storm to the opposite corner to say to stay on the attack. Megan Bayne drives her boot into her head of Tony Storm against the ropes, distracting the referee as Penelope Ford lays in some offense of her own for good measure. Megan Bayne lifts the champ up for a set of lariats to keep Tony Storm off her game. She brings Tony Storm to the ropes for more damage, once again giving Penelope Ford an opening for some more licks while distracting the referee. She brings Tony Storm up for a belly to belly suplex followed by a second one and a third one for a good measure. Covering the champ for a 2 count. Tony Storm gets to the ropes as soon attacked once more by the challenger. The referee distracted Penelope distracted again as Penelope Ford goes on the attack, only to be pulled by Luther, who keeps Penelope Ford on his shoulders as he escapes up the ramp. This distracts Megan Bay as Tony Storm tries to get back in the fight, hitting a Luther's press for some mounted punches on the challenger. Tony Storm hits a couple DDTs before locking in a modified STF on Magnus, who is trapped in the middle of the ring. As she looks to break free, she eventually managed to power herself to the ropes, forcing a rope break. The two go at it on the apron until Megan Bayne drops the champ hard to the mat, going up the turnbuckle before Tony Storm tries to fight back. This ends up with both women on the turnbuckles, and Tony Storm lands an avalanche German suplex that looks scary enough for the referee to check on both women before starting the standing 10 count. Both women eventually make it to their feet, trading strikes until the champ catches Megan Bayne with a German suplex, sending her to the corner. Hip attack by Tony Storm is blocked, leading to Megan Bayne hitting a German suplex of her own on the champ Magus, followed with a Falcon Arrow on Tony Storm, but it's only good for a 2 count. Tony Storm fights out of a fake descent to hit a German suplex on the challenger, followed by a hip attack, but Megan Bayne is back up. Not for long, however, as Tony Storm hits her with the headbutt to force her back on the mat for a second hip attack, and then a third for good measure. Storm Zero connects as the champ covers, but Magus kicks out at one. Tony Storm can't believe it as she gets gets to her feet, but Megan Bayne fights out of a Storm Zero for a lariat not once but twice, Powerbomb, the challenger connects Megan Bayne, holds the champ up for a fake distance, but Tony Storm breaks free, crowding Megan Bayne for the win to retain. The winner by pinfall and still your AEW Women's World Champion, Thomas Tony Storm. This was a good match between Megan Bayne and Thomas Tony Storm. Replay of the finish as Tony Storm celebrates on the ramp with Luther, who helps her off her feet to head to the stage as Megan Bayne looks on in shock from the ring. Great match here with the women's world title. Megan Bayne has looked really good since making her proper AEW debut, to the point where a finish like this was needed to keep the belt on Tony Storm, while showing just how tough the Vegas can be. Hashtag AEW Dynasty. All right. Video package for fourth encounter between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe comes with a chance to advance in the men's Owen Hart Cup on the line. Back at ringside, Kyle Fletcher heads out for our next match, followed by Mark Briscoe, only for the two men to go at it. The Chaos finally makes his way to the ring, follow the ref to call for the bell as this match gets underway. So we get the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament first round match, Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. And this match right here, this was a really fun match right here. It doesn't take long for Mark Briscoe to fight back entirely offense by Kyle Fletcher, sending the Protostar back out of the ring before landing some hard hits off the barricade. He brings back the spirit of the spirit of a certain extreme promotion that used to be in Philly, as he starts bringing chairs into the ring. But the referee begins distracted by the trying to get rid of the chairs. Leads to Kyle Fletcher sending Mark Briscoe onto one instead. While we get a look at Kanushka Takeshita watching on from backstage. He sends Mark Briscoe to the corner, mocking the crowd's "them boys" chant as he lays into Mark Briscoe in the corner. Philly crowd lets Don Callis know what they think of the former stars in the virus, whose headset starts to cut out as Kyle Fletcher continues to land some hard kicks on Mark Briscoe back in the ring. He sends the former Ring of Honor World Champion to the outside with a big boot, followed close behind to land a powerbomb, dropping Mark Briscoe onto the hardest part of the ring as the crowd shows their disdain. The referee tells Kyle Fletcher to bring Mark Briscoe back in the ring. Instead, Kyle Fletcher lands a powerbomb that sends Mark Briscoe onto the barricade. Kyle Fletcher enters the ring as Mark Briscoe used the barricade to help himself up during the referee's count, making it back in just in the nick of time. Kyle Fletcher charged at him for a running boot in the corner before sending him up on the turnbuckle. Mark Briscoe fights back, sending Kyle Fletcher down before hitting a shotgun dropkick off the ropes. Brody King watches on from backstage as Kyle Fletcher fights back with some kicks in the corner before he and Mark Briscoe hit the ropes, colliding with each other and both falling to the mat on a double down. The referee begins to stand in 10 count as they struggle to their feet, finding it out on the way up. They go back and forth until Mark Briscoe forces Kyle Fletcher to the corner. Kyle Fletcher comes back to enter to the center of to the center, but gets taken down with the fisherman suplex by Mark Briscoe. Kyle Fletcher breaks free from the shoulders of Mark Briscoe after setting him up for a snake eyes that sends Mark Briscoe hard in the middle turnbuckle. Kyle Fletcher tries to go for a draping DDT off the second rope, but no to avail. The two fighting it out on the apron until Kyle Fletcher hits a brainbuster on the hardest part of the ring. with Mark Briscoe legs catching the top rope. All right, Kyle Fletcher brings him back. Yeah, Kyle Fletcher brings him in for a uh, proto buster in a cover, but Mark Briscoe kicks out. Don Collins is beside himself as Kyle Fletcher brings Mark Briscoe to the corner for a top rope brainbuster. Mark Briscoe fights back. Fights out of Kyle Fletcher's grip, and the two fight it out on the turnbuckle. BT bomb by Marbrisco sends Kyle Fletcher crashing to the mat, but is only good for a 2 count as Marbrisco follows with a sliding lariat. He climbs up, connecting with a froggy bow in the cover, but Kyle Fletcher kicks out. Kyle Fletcher escapes a J Driller for a cradle and the near fall. Roll up by Marbrisco for a near fall of his own, blocking the brainbuster to hit a burning hammer style move, standing Kyle Fletcher down hard to the canvas. Kyle Fletcher rolls to the apron as Mark Briscoe climbs the turnbuckle and connects with a froggy bow on Kyle Fletcher on the outside. He brings Kyle Fletcher back in the ring, pointing as he sets up for one more froggy bow, but no ball. Kyle Fletcher fights back, setting Mark Briscoe for the turnbuckle brainbuster that gives the Proto Star the win to advance in the Owen Hart Cup match. Tournament. I'm sorry. The winner by pinfall and advancing to the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament. Kyle Fletcher celebrates the win as we get an updated bracket showing that Kyle Fletcher will face the winner of Page facing the wild card in the next round. This is a fun. That was a really fun match between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. Really fun match between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. A nice way to showcase what both guys can do as Kyle Fletcher pick up the win to advance in the on Hard Cup tournament. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. Video package. Things have gotten deeply personal between Chris Jericho and Bandito, leading to tonight's title versus mask match with the Ring of Honor World Championship and Bandito Pride both on the line at Dynasty. All right, excuse me. We head back to ringside for our next match as Bandito makes his way out for a nice pop from the crowd. The former Ring of Honor World Champion shows some love to his family at ringside before entering the ring as Chris Jericho comes out to some heat from the crowd. The regaining champs enters the ring, staring down Bandito as this match gets underway. So we get the Ring of Honor World Champion title match versus Mask Chris Jericho versus Bandito. And this match right here, this was a not bad. This was a decent match for me. Chris Jericho rushes at the challenger, nailing Bandito in the face with a cold breaker in the cover, but Bandito kicks out. Chris Jericho looks to try and end this early as he continues the assault on Bandito, connecting with a line assault that gets a 2 count. The crowd mostly chanting for the challenger as he fights back, evading a kick for a headstand before forcing the champ out of the ring for a dive. Bandito gets back in the ring, hitting the ropes for speed before landing another dive through the ropes. He sends Chris Jericho to the barricade near his family, telling his mother to relax before he embrace her and bringing the champ back in the ring. To Tornado connects as Bandito makes the cover, but it's only good for a 2 count. Both men are on their feet until Bandito brings Chris Jericho up for a delayed vertical suplex that lands an awful long time, and the point where I lost track when he finally brings the Navy the Nui back to the mat, covered by Bandito, but the champ managed to kick out as the crowd chants for the challenger. Chris Jericho gets to his feet as Bandito heads to the turnbuckles, but the effects of the delayed vertical suplex force him to drop back to the mat as Bandito intercepts him on the apron for before Chris Jericho brings him off the apron into the floor. Bandito is down as Chris Jericho gets to his feet, mocking Bandito's family at ringside before getting back in the ring as the referee count continues. The count reaches 11, reminding the audience that the Ring of Honor rules dictated at 20 count as Bandito finally gets back in the ring at 15. Chris Jericho takes advantage of the prone state of the challenger, keeps him down in a near fall before landing a boot after to keep him grounded. Bandito gets to his feet, feeding off the champ long enough to take him down with a DDT. The crowd cheers as he follows up with a fury of offense, sending Chris Jericho to the canvas, but the learning tree catches him with a dropkick, forcing the challenger down. Chris Jericho starts yapping at Bandito family, and this leads to the luchador dropping him on the canvas for a 2 count. Chris Jericho fights back, sending Bandito to the corner for some mounted punches until Bandito fights back for a powerbomb only to be countered into a hurricanrana by Chris Jericho. The challenger is back on his feet, however, taking Chris Jericho down for a false splash that gets a close near fall before the champ kicks out. Bandito heads to the corner for another tornado and gets caught with a modified code breaker by Chris Jericho, who gets a 2 count. Both men make it back to their feet for a gentleman's agreement to take the 10 pace, only for Chris Jericho to blindside the challenger using his speed for leverage on the cover. But Medina managed to kick out again. Kick out once again, I'm sorry. But the challenger fights back, hitting a knee on Chris Jericho before looking to the ropes. But Chris Jericho counters, sending Bandito to the mat before looking in the wall, locking in the walls of Jericho. Bandito is trapped as the as the try as he tries to get the ropes. He crawls over, making it to the ropes. As the referee intervenes to break the count, Chris Jericho uh, Chris Jericho goes off on the referee only for Benito to land him out with a third kick, sending the champ to the mat. Brian Keith comes hobbling down the ramp to intervene, but gravity runs down to even the odds as the officials deal with the situation. And this gives Chris Jericho an opening as he pulls a baseball bat out, landing a hard shot on Bandito before tossing the bat aside and brings Bandito to the middle of the ring for the cover, but gets the pin to retain the title and Bandito mask. The winner by pinfall and still your Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho. And this was a decent match in my opinion. Over at ringside, RB Edwards is covering with Bandito's family, who explained Chris Jericho transgression, transgressions as the champ insists on taking the challenger's mask off. The conversation with Bryce Ransenberg leads to the announcement being made. This match must restart. Must restart. Chris Jericho is live as he goes after the family, only for Bandito to land a nasty shot on the champ, followed by the 21 plus for the pin and the win to become the new Ring of Honor World Champion. The winner by pinfall and your new Ring of Honor World Champion, Bandito. I'm glad Chris Jericho lost. Thank God. Bandito deserves this win, but I'm glad Chris Jericho lost, even though this match was decent. But I'm glad Chris Jericho lost, and Bandito is the new Ring of Honor World Champion. All right, the crowd pops hugs for this as Bandito celebrates in the ring with his family, while Chris Jericho leaves the ring looking despondent, as the new champ's family continues to celebrate, and the crowd can be chanting the Hey Hey Goodbye song to Chris Jericho. Alright, I had my feelings on Chris Jericho the past few months, but this was a very nice match between him and Bandito. My heart just about sank when the Antito finish led to him retaining, which only all the more happy when they restarted it leading to the big win for a third third. Alright. Hey, we get a video package hyping AEW's next pay-per-view event, Double or Nothing, and All In. Texas followed by one hyping the rivalry between Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. Leading to this one, no time limit, no outside interference match for the TNT Championship match tonight at AEW Dynasty. Back at ringside, Adam Cole gets a big pop as he heads down the ramp for our next match. Daniel Garcia is also gets a pop as he comes out next before this match gets underway. Alright, so we get the next match. So we get AEW TNT Championship, no time limit, no outside interference match. Daniel Garcia defends against Adam Cole. And this this match was, oh my god, this was really good. This is a really good match right here between Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole. The two get into a quick with Adam Cole being sent to the corner before fighting back for a drop kick off the ropes. The champ managed to get back into it. However, as he sends Adam Cole to the corner for some mounted punches before Adam Cole forces him to the outside, Adam Cole heads to the apron for a Panama Sunrise, but Daniel Garcia evades it, taking advantage of the awkward landing by the challenger as he lands some stumps before bringing Adam Cole back in the ring before a basement dropkick. That was a botch by Adam Cole when he was trying to land that Panama Sunrise. That was a botch by Adam Cole. He continues to target the leg as Adam Cole gets back up, only to be sent to the corner by the champion Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia drives his boot into the legs, now weakening Adam Cole even further before locking in the legs and driving Adam Cole's knee to the mat. Daniel Garcia keeps keeps on the keeps on the top of things, only for Adam Cole to fight back to his feet. But Daniel Garcia catches him for a neck breaker. He's not done through as he lands a second, but the third is blocked by Adam Cole, forcing Daniel Garcia to try another plan of the attack. Adam Cole responds with a backbreaker again the knee, causing some pain for the challenger as Daniel Garcia gets back to his feet. Daniel Garcia reverses a Panama Sunrise for a clutch that gets a 2 count, followed by a lariat for a good measure as he sets up for a pile driver. Adam Cole starts fighting out of it, only for the champ to clutch for a spinning Gosh style pile driver for a close near fall. Daniel Garcia gets to his feet, lowering a knee pad to tease a boom until Adam Cole fights to his feet. They trade strikes until Daniel Garcia catches the challenger with a back suplex that leads the two-man trading kicks now until Daniel Garcia takes Adam Cole down for a near fall, only for Adam Cole to counter with a perfect pin for a near fall on the champ. Daniel Garcia grabs the foot of Adam Cole for an ankle lock as Adam Cole tries to get to the ropes, only for the champ to grab by the leg. But Adam Cole managed to get a hand on the bottom rope to force the break. Adam Cole escapes the ring, but a breather. But Daniel Garcia follows a close behind to send him into the ring steps. Daniel Garcia mocks him from the steps as he looks for a package pile driver, but Adam Cole fights back with some body shots before dropping Daniel Garcia against the steps and his knees. The referee checks on Daniel Garcia as Adam Cole sets up for a Panama Sunrise off the steps, driving the champ's head onto the floor before bringing him back in the ring. That was a brutal spot right there. The knee pad goes down for the boom, but Daniel Garcia drops to the mat. Adam Cole walks over and gets caught in the middle by the champ for a near fall. Before Daniel Garcia sneaks to the corner for a Panama Sunrise, followed by the boom on the challenger covered by Daniel Garcia, but it's only good for a 2 count. Daniel Garcia is frustrated as the slam the ankle of Adam Cole against the mat before setting up for another power driver, only for the challenger to break free. Daniel Garcia looks at the turnbuckle before bringing Adam Cole to the corner. He's looking for a power driver like he hit on MJF, but Adam Cole managed to stop him before landing some headbutts to send the champ to the mat. Adam Cole connects with the Panama Sunrise and sends to the opposite corner for another knee to keep Daniel Garcia down. Adam Cole gets back up and connects with a boom for the cover and to win the match and the TNT Championship. The winner by pinfall and your new TNT champion Adam Cole, baby. This was a good match too. Commentary knows Philly being where Adam Cole begins his career at 17 years old, and Adam Cole celebrates before offering some sportsmanship to the mat. He just beat he just beat for the belt. Darren Garcia says possibly returnally as he shakes his hand and embraces Adam Cole arm before leaving the ring to allow the new champ to have his moment. Change up pace here for the TNT champion title match, but a welcome one as Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia put on a great back and forth, leading to the crown of a new champion, baby. Hashtag AEW Dynasty. Video package: the return of Kenny Omega and his winning the AEW International Championship and the Championship Series, leading to his speedball Mike Bailey and Ricochet earning their shot at the title tonight at AEW Dynasty. We get back at ringside. Ricochet makes his entrance to some big crowd heat for our next match, and he enters the ring with speedball Mike Bailey steps out to the nice pop before Kenny Omega enters to a big pop from the Philly crowd. The cheer and the cheer and the chant for the champ as he enters the ring before this match gets underway. So we get the next match, AEW International Championship 3-way match, Kenny Omega versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Ricochet. This was the match of the night. This match was fantastic. This was the match of the night right here. Ricochet takes a powder on the outside as Kenny Omega and Bailey square off to a dueling chance from the crowd. They lock up as Ricochet wrenches on, choosing his spot as he goes after Speedball Mike Bailey before taking a breather on the outside again. Kenny Omega goes after him, now only to be sent crashing against the announcer table as Ricochet goes after Speedball. Kenny Omega gets back on the apron, sending Ricochet out of the ring before going after Bailey himself for a big scissors body off the top turnbuckle. Mike Bailey is sent to the corner as Kenny Omega goes to work, but it's Speedball who gets the upper hand for a moment before Ricochet intervenes, only for Kenny Omega to catch him with a cross arm breaker. Ricochet breaks free and escapes through the ropes as Speedball enters landing a fury of kicks on the champ. Kenny Omega is sent to the outside as Ricochet tries to get another shot in on Speedball but no to a ball as Bailey finds himself. The action spills to the outside where Kenny Omega and Mike slap Ricochet in the head. This promotes a ball chant as Bailey and Kenny Omega go after each other, with Kenny Omega hosting Speedball on his shoulders towards the barricade before Bailey breaks free. He climbed up to keep on the attack, but Ricochet intervenes before dropping Mike onto Kenny Omega and forcing the champ to crash onto the edge of the barricade. He brings Bailey into the ring. He brings Bailey into the ring to continue the attack, with Kenny Omega recovers on the outside. Ricochet goes for a cover, only for Speedball to kick out quickly as the crowd chants "Ball Forever" to try to get another Ricochet skin. Ricochet responds with a chop on Speedball, followed by a pair of backbreaker. He stops Speedball from breaking free, but it's Kenny Omega who intervened as Ricochet to the corner for some sends Ricochet to the corner for some chops. Ricochet fights back, chanting both Kenny Omega and Bailey and forcing them to the outside. This takes Bailey to the floor on one side before diving onto Kenny Omega to send him to the announcer desk. Ricochet starts taunting both men using one of the headsets as the announcer's desk, and this leads to disaster as Speedball runs at him and hurt with a kick. He puts the headset on to apologize to Shabani before bringing Ricochet back into the ring. All three men are in the ring now, and chaos ensues as each man tries to take both his opponents down for the pin. This ends with Ricochet and Mike Bailey landing a kick on Kenny Omega, only for both men to fall to the mat as all three competitors are down. Alright, the referee checks as they slowly get to their feet, with Ricochet being sent out of the ring to allow Bailey and Kenny Omega to focus on each other. They trade some hard strikes until Bailey drops Kenny Omega hard with a roundhouse kick. Ricochet jumps on the apron to grab Speedball's hair, only to be dropped with a thirst kick by Bailey, followed by a triangle moonsault. But Kenny Omega gets to his feet as well. The two giving him the Terminator beat to encourage a big dive from the best bout machine. Ricochet managed to cover, looking for a dive of his own, followed by a springboard moonsault from Speedball Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey and Kenny Omega get back in the ring, with Kenny Omega invading Speedball, only for Bailey to block Kenny Omega. Back back Backdrop sends Ricochet onto Kenny Omega, and Speedball hits a standing knee drop onto Ricochet. He rolls off as Bailey lands a big roundhouse kick on Kenny Omega for the cover, but Ricochet pulls the referee away to break the pin. Speedball turns his attention to Ricochet, sending him out of the ring and lays in some strikes. Ricochet tries to get back in the ring, but is cut off at the apron by Bailey, who looks for a standing knee strike on Ricochet, who rolls out of the way, forcing Speedball to drop his knees onto the hardest part of the ring. That was a brutal spot. So, that was a brutal spot by Speedball Mike Bailey. He lands on the apron and hurt both with his knees. Bailey is hurt as the referee checks on him, only for Ricochet to push Speedball into the ref. He enters the ring to go after Kenny Omega, setting the champ up on the top turnbuckle for a chop. Mounted punches by Ricochet, and with him biting the forehead of Kenny Omega, just as Bailey intervenes, setting up for a reverse Rana, sending Ricochet down to the mat. Speedball goes after Kenny Omega, but the champ escapes to hit a snap dragon suplex. He turns his attention to Ricochet, landing a snap dragon suplex on him as well. Mike Bailey Mike Bailey gets to the ropes and gets caught with another snapdragon by the champ, heading the crowd's call for one more time, only for Bailey to block it. Speedball grabs Ricochet against the ropes, but this only leads to Kenny Omega landing a Snapdragon suplex, sending both men down hard to the big pop from the crowd. Kenny Omega sees his opportunity and hits a V trigger on Ricochet and Speedball, sending the latter out of the ring. Ricochet escapes a one-wicked angel attempt by Kenny Omega, catches him for a German suplex, leading instead getting a 2 count before Ricochet kicks out. Bailey gets involved, setting up Kenny Omega for a backslide as Ricochet tries to sneak a pin using the ropes, but to no avail. As Kenny Omega managed to power out of it, Ricochet mocks Kenny Omega as he boosts the champ in the head, but Kenny Omega sends him out of the ring with a backdrop instead. Bailey catches Kenny Omega with a thirst kick, sending the champ to the corner where he connects with a running kick. Bailey gets onto Brett's rope for a ultimate weapon, and Kenny Omega rolls out of the way. But before changing in a hold on Speedball, Ricochet breaks it up for a near fall of his own, and the champ forcing him out of the ring before hitting Vertigo on Bailey for the cover, only for Speedball to kick out. Kenny Omega is recovering on the apron as Ricochet set up for a spirit gun before the champ pulls him out of the ring. He charges at Speedball but is sent to the corner, allowing Bailey to get in near fall instead. Mike Bailey is back on the most dangerous rope but gets dropped by Ricochet, who hits a shooting star press for the cover and a 2 count. Bailey heads to the corner but is cut off with a drop kick by Ricochet, who gets a shooting star press only to take a pair of knees to the chest, but Bailey, who cradles him for a near fall. Ricochet tries to beg Speedball off and takes a few of offense in response until he catches Bailey's leg and drops him on the mat. Ricochet heads to the corner to his feet, only to be stopped as Speedball pops up for a crane kick. Ricochet insists that it's not going to work, but Speedball proves otherwise by taking him out with the ultimate weapon connects. As Bailey makes his way to the cover, but Kenny Omega breaks it up with a V trigger. He sets Speedball up for a one-winged angel, but is shoved into the corner by Ricochet, who hits a poison rana on the champ before going after Bailey in the corner. Kenny Omega blocks a vertigo as he set Ricochet up for an avalanche one-winged angel, and Bailey is trapped in a trio vote as Kenny Omega makes the cover for the win to retain. The winner by pinfall and still your AEW International Champion, Kenny Omega. This was the match of the night. Alright. We get a replay of the finish as Kenny Omega celebrates in the ring with Bailey finally gets a free of his predicted pre pre counterment and the corner. Kenny Omega recovers with a sip of water before the coin drop signals the Robert Kazuchika Okada as big pop from the crowd as the Rainmaker makes his way to the ring, stare down Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega relents as he leaves the ring. Heading up the ramp, Okada music hits again as it shows his Intercontinental Championship to the crowd before heading up the ramp. Heavyweight match of the International Championship at AEW Dynasty. I didn't see the specific matches, but I was aware enough of PWG to recognize some nice callbacks. In some ways, this was a PWG style match in front of a packed crowd with an awesome match. I agree with that. Alright, let's move on. Video package. Jon Moxley tight grip on the AEW World Championship in the rise of Swerve Strickland to try to regain the title tonight at AEW Dynasty. Back at ringside, there's been enough talk. It's time for our main event. First up, we get an entrance, the Static Shock Bombs, as Swerve Strickland makes his way out to a big pop from the Philly crowd. Out next is the world champion himself, and Jon Moxley is accompanied by Maria Shafir through the crowd as they give a mixed reaction to the man seemingly holding the title hostage in the briefcase. Jon Moxley enters the ring as we get introductions from both men. The champ getting noticeably more boos here as the match gets underway. So we get the main event of the evening. So we get the AEW World Championship match. Jon Moxley defense against Swerve Strickland. This was a good main event match, but the ending was just terrible because of the Young Bucks. Like I stated earlier in the beginning of my video, but this was a good match, but terrible ending. The two stand off as the crowd shows their support for Swerve Strickland and then circle the mat as John Moxley keeps Swerve Strickland away before Swerve Strickland takes him down with a single leg. John Moxley responds by countering, circling around the arm of the challenger, circling the arm that traps around the challenger, but Swerve Strickland escapes, eventually catching the champ with an armbar of his own. John Moxley tries to fight back, tries to fight out, but is caught with the perfect as Swerve Strickland gets a near fall. As Swerve Strickland is seemingly taunt the champ with a judo stance on the mat. John Moxley goes after him, but Swerve Strickland gets to his feet and into the corner to force the break, only to start slugging away at the champ before landing an uppercut off the turnbuckle. Crowd chants for Swerve Strickland as the two men lock up, each looking for the upper hand. When John Moxley gets Swerve Strickland to one knee, he breaks the hold to lay in a chop on Swerve Strickland against the ropes. But Swerve Strickland responds by taking John Moxley to the outside through the ropes and lands a punch off the apron, forcing the champ to the floor. Swerve Strickland goes after him on the outside, sending John Moxley into the barricade before bringing him back into the ring. John Moxley intercepts the challenger, sending him to the floor as Reyes Severe stares him down and steps on him with the referee distracted. John Moxley leaves the ring, driving Swerve Strickland's face into the steps before throwing the challenger into them and entering the ring, while the referee continues to count. He distracts the referee while Maria Shafir gets some shots in, and the champ leads to bring Swerve Strickland back in for some more damage. The action spills. The action spills back outside as John Moxley goes to work on the challenger at the announcer table, laying in some hard offense to keep Swerve Strickland at bay. As we see, Swerve Strickland is busted open. That this doesn't phase John Moxley as the referee counts continues, only for the champ to slide into the ring, break the count by mouthing off with the referee before leaving again. I'm sorry. He got Swerve set up and on the steps, diving him down with the brown glass chip as the referee starts the new count. Swerve Strickland is struggling to get back in the ring, narrowly hopping in at 9 as John Moxley catches him for a stalling pike spiral driver, covered by John Moxley, but the challenger kicks out. John Moxley looks to make him bleed even biting the forehead of Swerve Strickland's before tying up the legs of the challenger while putting on the head scissors. John Moxley transitions out before Swerve Strickland hits the knees for a couple forearm shots to the head. Swerve Strickland is still in it even as John Moxley drops him to the mat once more. He starts taunting Swerve Strickland before hitting him again, and this leads to Swerve Strickland fighting back with the big right hand. He lands in some chops as John Moxley says he's gotta hit harder than that as and Swerve Strickland obliges with a big right hand that brings a smile to the champ's face. This leads to both men trading forearm strikes, followed by palm strikes and boosts from Swerve Strickland, who hits the ropes and runs into a forearm by John Moxley. Drop toe hold by the champ for a Kimura lock, keeping Swerve Strickland on the mat in the process. Swerve Strickland tries to get out but gets caught with a cross arm breaker, which John Moxley charges to a triangle hold of sorts until Swerve Strickland holds him up. for a powerbomb to break the hold. Both men struggle to their feet before a trading strikes, with John Moxley sent to the corner as Swerve Strickland hits a hip toss and a vertical suplex, covered by Swerve Strickland for a 2 count. We hear not Prince Nana telling Swerve Strickland to focus on the belt as John Moxley looks for a near choke, only for the challenger to roll through for a near fall. He goes for a flatliner, but is laid out by the champ before escaping a vertical breaker to lock in a bulldog choke on Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland struggles as John Moxley locks in a body scissors, charging changing his hold hold up slightly as the challenger managed to finally break free and hit John Moxley with a flatliner. Swerve Strickland gets to the corner for a house call on the champ. uh, I'm sorry. Swerve Strickland gets the corner for a roundhouse for a house call and the cover, but it's only good for a 2 count. He gets back in the corner and to land another house call. He heads to the corner waiting for John Moxley to get up as he wants to inflict even more pain. But the champ responds with a lariat instead, only for Swerve Strickland to connect with a house call out of nowhere. Both men are down as Mauricio Fear slides into the ring with the briefcase. The referee tries to intervene until Prince Nana runs and once in for the save only to be laid out with a briefcase by Maria Shafir. Schwarzenegger grabs her by the wrist, and John Moxley looks for a cutter, but Schwarzenegger breaks away, forcing Maria Shafir to take the cutter instead. Schwarzenegger hits a Paragon shift on the champ for the cover, but John Moxley kicks out. Schwarzenegger looking to bring this match to an end until John Moxley knocks him out of the outside. He goes under the ring looking for a weapon, out a ladder that he sets up the announcer desk. As far as Strickland slowly gets to his feet, the champ mocks the crowd, asking whose house it is now before putting a front face lock on Swerve Strickland to pull him near the ladder, and the two men end up climbing the ladder as John Moxley continues to lay into the challenger. They're at the top now as John Moxley looks for a vertical suplex, only for Swerve Strickland to rate the champ's back, landing some right hands before biting his forehead. This takes John Moxley down a couple rugs and gives Schwarzenegger the leverage he needs to land a swerve stomp, sending the champ through the announcer table. We get a replay as both men are struggling to get up after the damage done to them. John Moxley and Schwarzenegger crawl away for the war zone they created, eventually making their way back into the ring. They get to their knees, taunting each other before trading strikes to get back to their feet. This ends when John Moxley goes low, taking the challenger down with a kick to the ankle. Mauricio Fear grabs the chair, sliding it into the ring as John Moxley grabs it. He looks to throw it at John Moxley, who ducks out of the way, causing the chair to crash into the referee instead. Both men, both men and the referee down. Hangman Page comes down around to comes down the ref looking to someone with hit someone, but he's not entirely sure. He looks between Swerve Strickland and John Moxley. This allows the Death Riders to intervene, but Hangman Page managed to run them off before landing a deadline before the champ Page pulls out of the ring by the Death Riders. But the Outs come in to even the numbers and fight them up the ramp. The referee is still down, and this allows Schwarzenegger to throw the chair at John Moxley before going up top. connecting with the Swerve stomp. He hurts he hurts the referee and is still down. So the pin cannot be made. And suddenly the lights go out. They came back on, and the Young Bucks are in the ring. Landed the EVP trigger on the challenger. They leave the ring as the referee finally comes to coming back in the ring, as John Moxley finally makes the cover to pick up the win and retain the world title. The winner by pinfall is still your AEW World Champion, John Moxley. This match was fantastic, but the ending was just terrible because of Young Bucks. I know for a fact that everybody on Twitter is crashing out right now and giving out their frustration. I do not blame them because Swerve Strickland had this match won. There is no way. The Young Bucks did not need to be at AEW Dynasty, so there is no way that the Young Bucks should never have been at AEW Dynasty. That is facts by itself. This was a good match, but terrible ending. All right, it says the Young Bucks escaped through the crowd, not willing to give any answers as what just happened. As the pay-per-view fest comes to a close, on a shot of both Swerve in the ring and Page on the outside, both trying to make sense of of it all. Remember the change of pace I mentioned previously? This main event did it again, from the supremely technical start to well everything that went down in the finish. I'll get to the latter in a second, but honestly, I enjoyed this match a lot. It felt like in chance. That's all I gotta say. As for the finish itself, was it overbooked? Absolutely. And the real killer and the real kicker is the involvement of the Young Bucks on its sacrifice to make no sense, except the Young Bucks did not like Swerve Strickland before they took off, and they also made it clear they wanted nothing to do with the Death Riders. Overall, I had a blast watching AEW Dynasty. The main event finish in particular may be point of contention for many, but it ultimately worked for me, which is saying something because it's been kind of dead dreading John Moxley holding onto the belts this long, but as long as the finish. And AEW Dynasty goes off the air. Alright, let me give my honest opinion what I think about AEW Dynasty. And let's talk about it. Now, AEW Dynasty was a good show, but the ending was just terrible. So we got two back-to-back endings that were terrible. First, it was AEW Revolution, with their ending was just terrible, and now AEW Dynasty, their ending was just terrible. The match itself was good, but the ending was just terrible. The Young Bucks should never have been at AEW Dynasty. I repeat myself. The Young Bucks should not have been at AEW Dynasty. Swerve Strickland had that match won, and the Young Bucks came out of nowhere and cost Swerve Strickland the AEW World title match. And I know everybody on Twitter is mad about this, which is rightfully so, and I do not blame them. I'm mad about this too. But now that the Young Bucks have made their return, so we're gonna get Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page versus the Young Bucks at AEW Double or Nothing. But when I saw the Young Bucks showed up at AEW Dynasty, I got up and walked out of my room just like this. Like I couldn't believe it. That's how I did just now. That's how I felt when the Young Bucks showed up at AEW Dynasty. I got up and walked out of my room and say nothing because I was in disbelief. Because everybody was pissed off. And I don't blame them. I bet you everybody on Twitter right now is tweeting their frustrations out about the outcome of the Young Bucks. So the Young Bucks did not have nothing to do with the Death Riders, and I remember that part. So now we're gonna have to get this match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page versus the Young Bucks at AEW Double or Nothing pay per view. So that's all I gotta say. So yeah, AEW Dynasty was a good show, but the ending was just terrible. So now we got two back-to-back endings. First it was AEW Revolution with their ending, and now AEW Dynasty, their ending was just terrible. The match, the pay-per-view itself was good, and the ending was just terrible. But anyway, if you guys can join my AEW Dynasty review on highlights, um, yeah, if you guys join my AEW Dynasty review on highlights, the Young Bucks returns and attacks for Strickland at AEW Dynasty. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel because I'm on the road to 9K and I pass a YouTube partner. Let me know down below in the comment section how you guys feel about AEW Dynasty because AEW Dynasty was a good show, but the ending was just terrible. Follow my social media down below in the description, and I will make a 3-minute YouTube short video of me showing you guys my thumbnail twice in my 3-minute YouTube short video. I'm a man of my word. If I can show you guys, I'm a man of my word. If I can show you guys my thumbnail twice in my 3-minute YouTube short video, let's get that YouTube short video itself up to 1,000 views. And I will see you guys tomorrow for my WWE Raw review on highlights. This your boy Bigboysnacksjonnytv. Have a great night. Stay safe and always stay positive. Kept your crew, kept your kings, kept your club. Too sweet. I'm out of here. Gang. Mwah. Bang. Too sweet. Gang.